So here we have a block that reads in a list, and we want to count how many data points fall between two values. So we're going to go to make a block. The block is going to be called count between, or something like that, and it's going to have a list. We're going to pass it a list. We are going to give it a minimum, and we're going to give it a maximum. This is going to be a reporter block, and I'm going to put it under lists. And a reporter block means it's going to return something. Okay, in this case, how many of the list items fall between those 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Here, this list is going to be an input name, and over here I can choose what kind of input name. It's going to be a list. So you can hit OK, and that makes that a list. The minimum is going to be an input name, and that's going to be just a number. And the maximum is going to be an input name, and that's also just a number. So that's the arguments it's going to take. So what we want to do is we want to go through the list and count how many fall between min and max. So what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over our list. So we've got to find for each item in the list, put that in here. The list is going to go right there. So this is the list we're going to use. And for each item in the list, we're going to check to see if that item is between max and min. So we're going to get an if control structure. And we don't need the else, so we'll just get the if. And I'm just going to kind of build it over here. So two things have to be true. Our item has got to be less than the maximum, and our item has got to be greater than the minimum. So our item, the thing we're looking at in the list, has got to be greater than the minimum. And if those two things are both true, we're going to count that one, okay? So I'm going to get an and here. So if this is true and the item is greater than the minimum, so if those are both true, then we're going to do something. And what we're going to do is just add something to a counter. So we're going to get a script variable. So under variables, I can get a script variable. It's right here. I'll call that script variable by double-clicking on it. I'll call that my counter. And for each item in the list, if the item falls between the max and the min, we're going to change the counter by 1. So the counter will increase by 1. When we are done going through there, we just want to tell the program that called us, we want to report the counter. So we can grab the script variable right here and drop it in there, and that will report the counter. So there you go. Now you have the tool you need. You can count how many occurrences there are in any list between a min and a max. So if I put in 90 here and 110 here, and I use my data list, so my data is the list I'm going to pass it. When I do that, it takes a little while, but it should tell me how many of the data points fall between 90 and 110. Okay? And this is taking a little while because that's a long list. So in order to speed it up, what we're going to do is edit it one more time, and we're going to get the warp block out of the control sequence, and we're just going to drop this whole thing into the warp block. So that means it won't update the screen till it's done. It'll do these calculations super fast and then update the screen. So now when I do it, it happens very fast. And there are 1,003. This is what it reports, what it returns, 1,003 data points that fall between 90 and 100. If I do, for example, 80 and 120, there's 1,432 of those data points that fall between those two limits. Okay? And then you can use this, of course, in anything else. For example, you can drop it into a say if you want to report it to the user. You could, because this is a reporter, it'll have a value once it runs. And then you can see over here it says the value. All right, that's how you do it.